Okay, quick disclaimer about the content here. I've been planning this video for over a month before the Queer Kiwi Dadvocate drama. I follow both of these channels in kind of a nebulous, loosey-goosey sense. I'll watch a video of either of theirs every once in a while, but I'm not over here consuming all of either of their content, in part because I find them both to be kind of repetitive. Queer Kiwi is good for a reminder that bisexual and pansexual are different things, and the Dadvocate is good for a reminder that when men are good, they are very, very good. What happened basically is that Queer Kiwi made a video that in some places pointed out real flaws in the Dadvocate's content, and that in other places failed to fully interpret and unpack the media Dadvocate produces. Dadvocate responded by accurately pointing out that the Queer Kiwi misinterpreted a lot of what she said and falsely claiming that she fallaciously built straw man arguments. Honestly, neither of them are landing punishes, and none of this matters. My video isn't about wait. Does that say milk toast? Does she mean milk toast? Let me Google that. Milk toast is breakfast. I think she means milk toast, but that's also not right. If she is saying that her videos and arguments are milk toast, she's saying that they're feeble, timid, and insipid, which, first of all, isn't how I describe any of the content that Dadvocate makes. But second, what kind of defense is that? I make bad videos, now why is the rainbow yelling at me? This is so stupid. Anyway, there's something I wanted to talk about. Let's do this. Hi there. I am a deeply flawed person. I do my best every day, but there are times when I overcommit myself or let things slide or have different base assumptions from the people around me that lead to miscommunications. Sometimes I'm at the end of my rope and don't tell anyone so they don't know to give me slack, and then I surprise everyone when I snap. I'm sure everyone watching this has flaws like that because they're human beings. These are the kinds of things that we might feel self-conscious of and try to compensate for or try to eventually outgrow as we age, learn about ourselves, and mature. Having normal flaws such as these isn't the same thing as being toxic. To borrow a definition from Psychology Today contributor Katie Gillis, toxic relationships can manifest in both romantic and platonic contexts. In romantic relationships, toxicity can involve manipulation, control, emotional abuse, and even physical abuse. In platonic relationships, toxic dynamics might also include manipulation, but also gossip, betrayal, or constantly draining one another emotionally without reciprocity. This is immediately qualitatively different from the kinds of flaws that I and most people have and work on. One is based on being imperfect, recognizing this and trying to do better, and the other is the result of arrogantly, manipulatively using and controlling an individual or a group for their own benefit, emotionally, financially, or in any other way. While any relationship can be manipulative, most people are pretty easy to walk away from. Maybe a crazy former best friend will slash your tires, but a romantic partner, they can drain your life savings and take custody of your kids if you don't fall in line. As a result, there are a lot of resources for women in all stages of relationships built on these foundations of toxicity and manipulation. For those needing to get out, there are resources like Why Does He Do That? For those trying to avoid such toxic dynamics to begin with, women often share their wisdom with one another to help each other find the right match. One strategy for this is burning the haystack. This is where the Dadvocate comes into this story. I was watching one of her videos when I learned the term for this strategy. Burning the haystack is a reference to the phrase finding a needle in the haystack, which means that something, or in this case, someone, is hard to find because they're mixed in with all these other people whom you have to examine one at a time, which is time-consuming and tedious. Burning the haystack recognizes that hay burns, but needles don't. When you burn the haystack, you're left with the needle. You can just look at where the hay used to be and pick up the needle. When it comes to dating, Burning the haystack is a strategy of being extremely selective when it comes to finding your partner, burning through all the people who aren't your partner until you find the person who is. In the example Dadvocate gives, the woman was selecting for toxic behavior, so if a guy acted manipulatively or tried to gaslight her or couldn't take accountability or any of these things, then she would recognize the red flag, take the loss, and move on to the next date. Now, this strategy is the same one that I employed when dating, and my choice to be as selective as I was is how I found my wife. I could have wasted my time with the wrong person, but then I might not have been single when my wife moved to the area and got on Hinge. If I hadn't, she might have been dating someone else, and then where would we be? So when I went on dates, if we couldn't find common ground, or even if the vibes were off, I would just skip to the next person until I found my person. And now I'm married. But Dadvocate doesn't like this strategy, and instead of engaging with it, she creates a straw man of it, a hay man, if you will.
So how does this method work in reference to burning the haystack? The idea is basically that as soon as a man demonstrates even the most minute form of even perceived toxicity, you end everything immediately with him. This is considered a time-saving method. That way, if you just reject everyone on their very first sign of a flaw, clearly you'll have so much more time for finding a man with no flaws.
Did you catch that sleight of hand she just did? It's right here.
Even the most minute form of even perceived toxicity, you end everything immediately with him. This is considered a time-saving method. That way, if you just reject everyone on their very first sign of a flaw.
She says toxicity, then quickly generalizes to all flaws, as if those are the same thing at all. I would rather date someone who forgets that they already bought me a birthday present, so they have two on hand and has to save one for Valentine's Day, than someone who punishes me by returning the presents I give them or the presents that they had planned to give me. Flaws aren't the same thing as toxicity. One is the innate frailty of being human. The other is targeted and hurtful. Most people can tell the difference when they're on the receiving end, and pretending like they're the same is disingenuous. You don't have to pretend someone's cruelty is an accident. You don't have to accept it as the cost of falling in love. Love shouldn't be some fey bargain. Love should enhance your life, flaws and all. Join me next time for another dating and relationships video for a breakdown of some of the worst data analysis I've ever seen in a Psychology Today article. And thank you for your patience as I get through Tenna and get my ideas together.